So, a few days ago I finished watching a show called Penguin, and it's pretty good, to be honest. It's really good. You gotta watch it if you have the chance, if you have the time for it at least. It's the show about one of the notorious villains in the DC universe called the Penguin, who is like the mastermind. He's smart, he uses people with guns. He's basically like a mafioso of some sort, alright? He's like a mobster. And there's gonna be two parts to this little, let's call it, review, right? There's gonna be a spoiler-free part where I'm gonna talk about all of the general stuff about the show without spoiling anything really spoiler heavy. Maybe there's gonna be some spoilers for the first episode, but that's gonna be it. And there's gonna be like a spoiler heavy part, alright? There's gonna be a lot of spoilers on this part. I'm gonna talk about everything I really think about the show. And yeah, probably gonna miss something because I'm not like a reviewer of some sort, but still, this is how it's gonna go. And if you like the spoiler-free part, if you like this, description that I had for it, if you're like, damn, I want to watch this show, really, like, it sounds pretty good, you just pause it, you give it a watch, and then you maybe come back, if you want to. And yeah, that's kind of gonna go. So let's start with the first part, the spoiler-free part. So first thing I want to say is that the actors are extremely good in this show, alright? The actors are pretty good. The Colin Farrell who plays the Penguin is like insane. And it's basically like when you think about the Penguin after you watch the show, like if you think about all of the versions of this character, you think about the Colin Farrell one because it's so really good. And some people might actually compare it to, let's say, Heath Ledger's Joker, for example, because it's like one of the legendary performances of all time. But I don't think it's quite there yet, but it's still insanely good. And there's other character that actually played the Penguin before, and I don't remember his name, but it was in the show called The Gotham, and it's also a pretty interesting show in its own way. It has some problems, but he was also pretty good. But this Penguin is like tops the other Penguin. It's just insanely good. And the other characters are also pretty good. It's like the Vic, who's just random guy who randomly got into the crime, and maybe he sees some opportunity, maybe not, who knows. The Penguin himself is like a ruthless gangster who's like, damn bro, he's ruthless. He's like, he thinks that the world is unfair, and you kinda can actually agree to it, right? Because the world is unfair, there's no equal opportunities really. And other characters are as well, like Penguin's mother is pretty good. It's like ruthless lady in some sort. They're also pretty known mob families that are known in like the Batman universe, DC universe more like, is the Maronis and Falcones, and they also are pretty interesting to watch, although not as interesting as other characters, to be honest. And they were not as strong a little bit, let's say. I can't really spoil anything too much yet, but they weren't as strong as I would imagine them to be. And the characters themselves, like, pretty interesting. They all pretty thought out, pretty complex, I would say, especially the Sophia Falcone and the Penguin, the two characters that were like wrote out the most. They were really complicated, they're really polished, they're really thought out, and it's really good. It's really good character development. It's really good, they really show the details of the characters are really good, and their development is pretty good, and it's all going in a great direction. And the story itself is pretty good. It's like a crime drama basically. There's betrayals, there's killings, there's murders, territory this, territory that. It's like a mob fight basically, right? And the basic idea of the show is that there is no honor among thieves, because everyone is doing it for money, and everyone is going to betray for money. And there's gonna be betrayals because we want to work with this, we want to work with that, or we care about money, we care about this. And this pretty generic stuff for this kind of show, to be honest. It's like for the crime drama. And what it really sells, the crime drama part, is that the tone of the show is like amazing. The tone is like dark, it's like gritty, it's realistic, it's everything you would strive to see in this kind of show, alright? And DC kind of shit in the bed with the entire DC universe that was before Robert Pattinson's Batman. They really tried so hard to copycat Marvel because, you know, there was Infinity Saga with Thanos and they were doing insanely good. There was like billions of dollars coming in. Like, it was insane, right? Nowadays Marvel is not as good a position, obviously, but back then they were like absolutely crushing it. And DC also wanted the piece of the cake, and they tried to copycat the Marvel. They tried to shift the Nolan's direction in the Justice League, and they shit the bed really hard. It was extremely bad, and you know we've seen the Nolan for our his own cut of the Justice League. It was pretty good, to be honest. And maybe then they realize like, damn, we're actually not going the wrong direction. We actually need to go to our own tone. We need to distinct ourselves from Marvel, being like dark, gritty, realistic. Because you know the Gotham itself, pretty good place. Well, this kind of tone, because the city itself is kind of gothic in a way. It's dark, it's full of crime. There is like not a lot of hope except of Batman. Like if you remove Batman, there's no hope for this kind of city. And this is exactly the tone that it should have gone to, and they went with it. And it's pretty good, honestly. Like this is exactly what they should have done from the start with the Justice League, to be honest. And Gotham, the series Gotham that I mentioned before, is also went this way in the first 2 seasons. Then they like started to do magic. There is like mutants. There is all this bullshit, and it kind of muddied the waters a little bit. But this show is like faithful to it from the beginning to the end, and this is exactly what I would expect from it. And I'm glad they delivered on it. Yeah, there are also some problems. There's a few problems. Fuck off, Kit, I don't want to see it. Stuff from the job. Alright, there's a few bad things. It's like, the show itself is a bit slow, which you can imagine from this kind of show, right? But it's a bit slow. For example, since there's gonna be... I'm gonna watch Arcane soon, I'm gonna compare it to Arcane. Arcane is more densely packed with stuff, and more densely packed with activities. Not activities, more like events. And the show kind of feels a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish at some points, a little bit drawn out. And pacing is a bit weird. I can't really say why it's a bit weird, alright? But as the game developers would say, there is a bit game balancing issues between the characters and their strength. But that's something I'm gonna cover in the second part. But first, before we go to the spoiler heavy part, the show is good. Alright, I said that for like a million times already, but it's pretty good. Give it a shot. If you have the time, if you really like dark, gritty stuff, if you want to see some DC stuff, you want to see a character from the comics, but in a realistic state, in a realistic manner, that's the show for you. Go watch it, alright? And give you time to think about it, to watch it, right? Pause right now, go and watch it, right? Now, for all those who watched it or who don't really care about spoilers, who are not gonna watch the show, here's the full thing. Here's like spoiler heavy part. Spoiler! Or there's gonna be a siren. And basically, alright? There is a few more problems with the show that I'm gonna tell about in the end. But first, again, the spoiler-free part, talk about the good parts. And when I talked about the story being good and the characters being good, what's really done well in the show, what's done really well, right? It's gradual, like uncovering the childhood's experiences of the two pivotal main characters. It's Sophia Falcone and Penguin himself, right? And it's done pretty well. It's done like they were uncovering bit by bit. They uncovered a little bit about Sophia, they uncovered a little bit about Penguin, and when you actually, this is actually like game changer news. It really changes how you watch the characters. For example, with Sophia Falcone, right? Let's get her as an example. She gets out of Arkham, and we think that she's a psycho, she's like a nutball, and she's probably gonna kill everybody. But then she kind of doesn't behave like the crazy person, but everyone decides that he's crazy person, even her family. Then it turns out that it was his father, her father, who actually killed the girls and then pinned on his own daughter because he's a fucking psycho and she did nothing wrong, she just wanted to know the truth. And like the Penguin actually was the one who ratted her out. And it's like, damn. She's actually like a victim in this. But then they blame her long enough until she actually becomes a little bit psychotic on her own. But that's the problem, is that when you say someone is bad, someone is bad, someone is bad, why do you then turn around and surprise when they actually become bad? Because you were like blaming them for this for a long time, and they actually start doing bad things. Can you really blame them for it? And her transition was kind of like that. This was because all of them thought that she was crazy. She was like, fuck it, I'm gonna be a little bit crazy then. I'm gonna be free out of all this nonsense. And she gassed her family, but right. Kind of a little bit ashamed, to be honest, because, you know, Falcons are like one of the greatest crime families, and yes, sure, the dad died, like the main guy died in the Batman movie, but I still expected a little bit more of a fight between these two groups. Maybe there wasn't enough actually. I don't know. Maybe 8 episodes wasn't enough for it to actually show it. But yeah, and you know, she actually becomes free, and she's like, all right, I'm not gonna be affiliated with this family now. I'm gonna affiliate with my own family, and you know, and then she loses to Penguin, sadly. And about the Penguin himself, it's like from the first, when we see him, right, we think he's like a ruthless gangster, right? We think he's like the guy who's like, it's not like the world works, and the world is like ruthless and it's not fair, which I can agree with. It's like all the stance we all can agree with. We all talk about equal opportunity, about equality, but there's no equality, right? Someone is born with a silver spoon in their mouth, someone is not. Someone's born in poverty, so there's no true equality in the world if you think about it. And I can agree with that message in the beginning. You see that he's bad, but he's sympathetic, let's say. But then it starts to gradually get worse. And first is when you see that his lies, like he's gonna say anything to save his skin. Oh, I'm gonna work with you. I'm gonna work with you. Oh no, I'm gonna betray this guy. I'm gonna betray this guy. And he does it like he's flipping so fucking hard. He's insane. How does he have so much shoes to flip all the time, right? To change them, bro. It's like insane, man. And yeah, and this one thing that he did, and you know, betraying comrades is basically like a main point of the show, but the Penguin was the one who was doing it the most. He betrayed the Falcons, he betrayed the Maronis, then there was these guys, he kind of betrayed them, but he kind of didn't, like... He basically betrayed everyone he worked with to some extent, and this kind of fucking what? He's basically fucking rat, and he betrays his Falcon. The reason why she get to Arkham, because you know, Penguin told his father that his daughter is doing an investigation on all those dead girls, and he was like, all right, gonna pin it on her then. So Penguin was one of the forces that made her change, really. And you know, what else he did? Yeah, in the last 2 episodes though, this is where the main shift happens, between where he becomes even less sympathetic. It's like when we learn that he actually was the one who killed the brothers, his brothers, right? Who were dead, and they couldn't really talk about him. And it was like, fuck, bro. Isn't it your brothers? Why did you kill? What? Are you insane? And you start to understand that he's maybe actually a little bit mentally unhinged. A little bit mentally unhinged. Tiny bit, you know? And this is insane, right? Think about it. It's like your own brothers. Yeah. He killed his own brothers, and he told the mothers, oh, well, no, they just, oh, yeah, they want to see a movie. And this is where you start to understand that he's a little bit not right on the head. And then turns out that his mother knew, right? In the end, Sophia put all of them, his and her mother, together, and she's like, all right, tell the truth. And they were trying to cut off the mother's finger, right? And she didn't want to tell his mother the truth, even though they almost like removed the finger from her, and they were making her really painful. It was really painful for her. It's like, damn, shit. It's like, tell that you killed the brothers. yeah, you're gonna make your mother hurt. Yeah, you're gonna show that you're not a good person, but your mother's like hurting. They make her painful. What the fuck are you doing? And he didn't tell. He was ready for her to get cut in order for him to keep his truth. That happened like 50 years ago, 40 years ago. I don't know how he lived, so kind of around that. And shit. And like the worst parts are the the final betrayal that he did. Like the worst of them all is killing Vic. The Vic was like the heart of the show. He was like the normal person on all of this shithole. He's like the one normal person who is like empathetic, who is human, who is just got there basically by chance. He is not like a veteran or fucking, I don't know, gangster. He's a normal guy, and you know, they were basically like family, both of them. And you know, Penguin cared about Vic, Vic cared about Penguin, and then he killed him because he was his family, so he wouldn't get hurt. Fucking, I understand the sentiment, right? Because you know, it's like a common theme, and let's say superhero genre is that if you have someone who you love, the villain's gonna expose and gonna use this link to manipulate you, to, you know, blackmail you in some way. And I understand this idea, but damn, God, how can you be so heartless, bro? And he left his mother to live, and even worse, he's like, he has like a bitch, which like a whore who works for him. Basically, he pays her to like his dick or some shit. I don't even know what he pays it for. But then he put the suit of his mother on this chick. He makes her look like his mother and say that she's proud of his son. This is some deranged shit, bro. He's like fucking insane. What the fuck is happening? I don't understand, mate. It's insane. And you know, there's also the Penguin's mother, which actually we thought at the beginning that she's like a ruthless woman that made the Penguin who he is, but then we learned that Penguin is actually unhinged, and it's actually he killed his brothers for his mother. He didn't feel anything towards them, and the mother wasn't really a ruthless woman. She really just knew about how the brothers died, that it was Penguin who killed them, and she was trying to process that, and then she kind of took on a mask to make him even more ruthless, to like, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and she's not actually like that. That's my opinion of her, is at least. And she even tried to kill the Oswald, which is insane. Like, the Oswald is a penguin, by the way. I probably haven't told that yet, but damn, this family is like fucking insane. This family is like nuts. All of them. I kind of feel bad for the mother, especially when she becomes a vegetable, and then she, even though she asked before the penguin to kill her, she lets her live. Poor woman, to be honest. Now she needs to live like a vegetable next to the guy she hates, which is her own son. But you can see how complex the characters are if you haven't watched the show, right? Especially those three, right? The Penguin's mother, Penguin himself, and the Sophia Falcone. You can see it pretty much right now, right? And there's a few bad things in the show as well, which I was like a little bit of what the fuck moment, and a few of them. First one is Falcone and Maroni felt a little bit underpowered, to be honest. It's like I'd expected a little bit more of a fight from them. Maybe it was a lack of time, but sometimes show felt dragged out anyway, so I'm not sure about it. And you know, some people say that Maroni's death is anticlimactic, which I not really agree with. It just shows how a little bit deranged Penguin actually is, because when Maroni dies from the heart attack, it's not how does Penguin react? That's the most important part. How does he react? He's not like, oh yeah, finally I get rid of this guy, I can actually be the Emperor, Underground Lord. No, he doesn't do that. What he actually is, damn, I wanted to beat him. I wanted to show that I'm better than him. and then he starts to shoot at him and tell him, I beat you, even though he is already dead. And he actually shows that he's extremely narcissistic person. It's one of the signs of it, let's say. And he doesn't really care about winning as much as himself beating everybody else. It's like the ego thing, pretty much. And you know, I think that's what the meaning. And I agree, it feels a little bit anticlimactic. But then when you look back at it, when you actually process all of this, you actually realize what it's actually made for. And you know, this one thing. Another thing, I had a different idea about the Penguin as the character before, because before that I thought that he's like an anti-hero, which is basically he sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. He primarily like an information dealer, but he's also like a gangster, and he sometimes helps Batman, sometimes he betrays him. But this Batman is like pure black, almost pure black, really. Why almost? Did he do anything good? Yeah, maybe he paid to the people that worked for him like pretty well, and you know, was doing good to them, but it was also for his selfish gains. So he's almost purely black, if I think about it. It's not as kind of gray character that actually was in the comics, even though I haven't read the comics, but I heard about him as the character who is kind of like that. Maybe I was misguided. Maybe it's not actually the way, but that's what I heard. All right, and there was like another thing is that when I talked about the pacing being weird, what I actually meant is that Penguin was the nobody for the half of the show, and then he stole like a few mushrooms, and then it suddenly like a lord of his own, and he has like an insane amount of money. What I would expect from a character being a little bit more gradual rise, right? Like a little bit more wealthy, a little bit more powerful, but there was like a switch which went on. It's like he wasn't powerful, he is powerful, period. He was like an underdog and everyone was making love of him, and then he's like the guy, right? He's doing pretty good money. It was a little bit weird. Another thing that was a little bit weird, and the last thing is that what I really didn't understand when he was facing the Maronis is that you have a lot of money, dude. There was like a few months left from the point. You had a few months to earn a lot of money, and you knew Maronis and Falcone was gonna come to you at some point. Why didn't you fucking, I don't know, hire an army of some sort to help you fight this army that's gonna come? Instead, he had a lot of average civilians, as I understand, who were working for him, but they weren't like mobsters who were really good with shooting stuff. That's my interpretation of it. I'm not really sure if that's true or not, but that's how it was shown in the show. A little bit saying duplicate stuff, but you got the point. And that's how it is. I don't really understand the idea. Why didn't you hire some professionals for it? Maybe it was for discretion purposes, which was one of the big reasons why he was working on the ground, sure, but if you need to fight, don't you need like soldiers for these fights, for this war that they're gonna have? I don't know. Yeah, he worked with other families, with other gangs more like, but you know, they all care only about money. They don't really care about you. They don't really have the sense of loyalty, especially to the Penguin, who betrays everyone left and right. So shouldn't you have like an army of your own? Yeah, it wouldn't obviously protect from the bomb that went out when the Sophia was like but still, it would be pretty smart to do that, kind of. Anyway, this kind of all that I had ready to tell. And yeah, if you actually have eyes, I had a little bit of a list here, which I was looking a little bit. It was like bullet points of what I wanted to say, what I wanted to talk about. And because it would be impossible for me to remember every single bit of it and have it in a meaningful order. And yeah, it probably would be better to actually have a script for this kind of stuff, but I still wanted to tell like a pretty much raw opinion. I thought it out a little bit before, of course, because I made all these bullet points, but still, I wanted to have it raw, just a little bit of yapping of my own. Maybe I'm gonna add a little bit of editing to it, like add the pictures of the characters I'm gonna talk about it. Maybe not, I'm not sure about it. Maybe I'm just gonna post it as it is. It's gonna be pretty fun as well. Anyway, that's gonna be all for me this time around, and I gotta go off and watch the Arcane. What the fuck is happening here? I'm gonna go and watch the Arcane now. It's kind of 8 p.m. I'm probably not gonna be able to finish it tomorrow, but I'm really gonna try. All right, I'm really gonna try to do that because I really wanna talk about it as soon as possible. Because it's Arcane, bro. It's Arcane. I'm really excited to do it, man. I'm so fucking excited. And yeah, anyway, that's gonna be all for me. Penguin is pretty good. Watch it. Definitely watch it. 100%, million percent, bazillion, gazillion, percent. Watch it. That's what I mean. Anyway, that's gonna be all for me this time around. Bye.